Good day, everyone, and welcome. I'm really pleased for this issue of A Poem from My Thoughts. We have Tanya Chitunhu. Tanya, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Tanya, so we love poetry on this platform. And just before we get into a poem from your thoughts, just tell us a bit about your family background.
Okay. Well, I'm from a country called Zimbabwe in Africa, in Southern Africa. That's my birthplace. That's where I was born and partially raised. My background is, I come from a family, a close-knit family, a loving family. Mom and dad were raised by both parents, fortunately. And yeah, I have a twin brother as well and an older sister. So yeah, it was a very I would say really nice childhood. Very supportive, always into school. Academics was a uh, big part of my life. Being African, we love our books. So I was always encouraged to do that. And anything really that I was interested in, I was encouraged in. So I've been really fortunate in that way. But yeah, very, very supportive background, basically.
Excellent. So, as you said, you love books. So, what made you get into poetry then?
Interestingly enough, I look back and I think God always had a hand in it somehow. He was preparing me for poetry without me knowing. I went to a school and primary school in Zimbabwe that part of their curriculum, we had a poetry element to it. So they always made us memorize poems and do a competition on performing poetry. So, funnily enough, I actually really hated poetry at school, even with that background. But I remember doing it at school, especially primary school, and doing that, which now I look back and I think it's funny that I do it and I actually enjoy it. So that was part of the journey. But a big part of it was also, I'm a woman of faith, I'm a Christian. And I just started writing just in my own time. And I don't know who found out if it was my family, but I started doing it in church as well. My pastor was very, very accommodating to me and encouraging this gift. And I used to do things like remixing the sermons and summarizing it in a poetic way and, giving, yeah, basically performing in church. And then from there, I branched out into community events, open mics, and really just started performing more at different venues and things like that. And so that's been my journey. And then in 2017, I took a year out to really explore it and really try and cultivate it. Which was an amazing experience. I got mentoring from an amazing poet. I got more into the scene in Birmingham with poetry and performance. And then at the end of that year, I had an incredible opportunity to go overseas with my work and work with artists from all over Africa, actually, and do a collaborative project called Collab Now Now. And so that was an incredible experience. And yeah, I've just been writing since then, really.
Okay, great, great. So, how do you describe your poetry and what are the type of themes that weave through your work?
Wow. I think personal histories or personal stories, I would say. A lot of the themes of my work is around identity, around memory, migration, all of the things that I basically have experienced in my life, and things that I find interesting. I read a lot about, Black culture, African culture, So those are the main themes, but I would say the thread is identity, exploring my own identity, exploring other people's identity. And I feel like I'm like a little like an archivist and a storyteller. So I kind of write to archive what is beautiful in the world, what is praiseworthy, and also what is horrific as well. So I think, yeah, that's kind of what I like writing about.
And of course, I'm sure that includes the diaspora as well.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, so what do you like about writing and performing poetry?
Yeah. I think writing, it's well, I like it, but I also hate it. I like I like the process of writing. I like when you have an idea in your head and you kind of work on it to make it something that you can, see come to life on the page.
Mm,
But I say I hate it, but it's also quite a painful experience at times. Uh, because I am a perfectionist as well. So sometimes it doesn't quite work out, and that's really frustrating. But I do enjoy when it does come together and it clicks, and it's exactly how I want it to come across. And then in terms of performing, which I absolutely love, it's connecting with an audience. It's being able to share something that people can relate to or that people can, yeah, like can see themselves in. And I think that's why I got into poetry really, is when I heard other people's work and I saw myself and I saw that someone saw me or could relate to me. And that for me is such a powerful thing. And I also really like, I think the performance element is about speaking. It's about words and words said out loud and the power of that, being able to speak something that translate into the human heart. Usually I like for the positive, for their good. So yeah, I like that.
okay, okay. So, what and who have been your main influences?
Well, I think, from my background, just growing up in Africa, in Zimbabwe, the language I speak, my native language is called Shona. And I feel like there's a lot of poetry within the language itself, and a lot of storytelling. So I think that's always been a big part of my work is storytelling and yeah, creating voice to things that we see. I like obviously hip hop, rap being an acronym for rhythm and poetry. I
Mhm,
think they're like sisters, rap and
mm,
spoken word. Usually the two intertwine. So I like that. And obviously, also my faith is a big part of why I write, what influences me and stuff because of like what I said, the Bible talks about, power is there's life in, and death in the power of the tongue. So it's all of those things, kind of mixing together. That's what I has influenced me.
okay, so would you like to give us a couple of examples of your work and tell us the
Sure.
title of your first one?
Okay, so the title of the first one is called The Ten Commandments of Eating Well.
Okay.
So, yeah. One, do not insult the ancestors by reaching for a spoon, a fork, or a knife. Two, wait for a moment. Prepare yourself. This is holy ground. Three, clap twice in thanksgiving. Tonight, both your belly and your heart will be full. Four, drown your hands in soapy water. Rinse and dry. Five, raise Rujgi, the right hand, in honor of your father and mother who taught you the beauty of hard work. Never use the left. You will regret it. Six, do not attempt to murder the mountain of sadza on your plate. You will be defeated. In humility, tease a small soft rock into the center of your palm. Squeeze with your forefingers. Seven, roll and mold as it burns. Ignore the pain. This is no child's play, but the art of eating well. 8. Do not steal the moment away by rushing. Slowly, baptize the rock in a river of soup. Collect tender pieces of beef and glistening strips of green muriwo, open wide, and throw gently onto your tongue. 9. Savor the warm flavors of Africa. You'll be reminded of the light dancing in Gogo's eyes as she ate, and Sekuru's song sang sweetly in satisfaction. Be one with them and future generations who will partake in your delicious inheritance. 10. Breathe and smile.
Impressive.
Thank you.
So, so what was the inspiration behind that particular poem?
Um, I think I just wanted to write something quite playful, but also exploring the theme of like inheritance, but in a way that isn't the norm. Like, and I think just to go back a little bit, I think I mentioned about archiving. And yeah, I think this is kind of one of those poems, just to archive something that I know we eat this particular food all the time in my household, and I grew up eating it, but it's something really precious, and we can take it for granted, but it's a big part of our culture and what we've inherited. So I really wanted to kind of, yeah, elevate that and say, wow, this is something very cool. And the ritual around eating is actually something unique and powerful and part of our heritage and who we are.
Okay, and we could see how identity was weaved through all of that as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And your second one?
Yes. So my second poem is called My Africa. Yes, so I shall go for it. My Africa. An ocean away, sinking in thoughts just as deep, I reflect on all the ways I took you for granted. I miss the simple things, like seeing the splendor of stars shining in a night sky as dark and as beautiful as the people, blessed to be born underneath it. I miss the sun, the way it poured pure and plentiful on my chocolate brown, bathing it in a mystical golden light, hot and healing. It sang in my bloodstream so I could literally feel the music of its power surging within my bones. Unlike in my daydreams on this rain-soaked island, I miss her, my Africa. These days, I rarely think of her. Between trying to fit in or simply survive, make a name for self or family pride, life in the diaspora leaves me weary and without time to think. Sit still, close my eyes, forget the daily deadlines and the constant pressure to get ahead, to buy more and more material things they claim are bigger and better, yet never enough to fill the hole in our souls. Slowly, my memories of her are beginning to fade, like my grandmother's black and white Polaroids, the ones too precious to throw away. And so I try. I try to remember her, my Africa, regal and opulently dressed in her rich red soils, rolling green hills and raging rivers, sitting gracefully under a glorious and cloudless blue, peaceful. She laughs as if she has no cares for today. And though she has plenty, joy bubbles beautiful from within her borders, her children smile, sing and dance, not occasionally nor by chance, but by this daily and courageous choice to conquer by continuing to love and celebrate life, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. She is dark, but she is wonderful. She is wise, for she has suffered through many things, but still she sings the songs of hope with faith and conviction. And out of the abundance of her bountiful fields, these are the lessons I have gleaned. One, don't rush through life. In Africa, people never seem to worry about time. Events rarely start when scheduled to, but when they finally do, the most important thing is that everyone has a good time. So savor this moment, enjoy it like it was your last, for it will quickly crumble and fall to the ground to be swept away in the wind like dust, too. It takes a village to raise a child. When I was younger, fresh faced and full of wonder, I didn't know much, but I knew at least one thing. If you somehow lost your mind, dared to misbehave, stepping out of line in public, the neighborhood mothers would be onto you. Nothing escaped their hawk like eyes, and the news would strike as quick and as menacing as lightning to your parents, so that when you got home, you would experience the inevitable rumble of their thunder, and you would not soon forget it. But later in life, to your surprise, you'd be thankful for it. Three, in Zulu, they say, Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. I am who I am because of who we all are. It's one of life's greatest pleasures, knowing that you are not alone, that you do belong. I am strong, even when I'm weak, when my hand finds home in your hand. My story and your story, interwoven in this intricate and magical tapestry of history, of his story. Imagine how much greater we can be when we live together in unity. Four, whether life throws you prosperity or poverty, blessing or tragedy, catch but hold loosely to either one. Instead, remember your creator. Put your life in his infinite but gentle hands. Always be grateful for the gift of life, for the wonder of being alive. Five, there is a bittersweet truth I can only taste with my mother tongue. Ziva kwa wakava, kwa unoyenda husiku. Know where you have come from, for the future is dark and uncertain. So be sure of this one thing. No matter where you go, you can always find your way home. And so I pray that I will always find you, always carry you, precious and proud, my home, my Africa. Thank you.
Great, great. Can feel the inspiration behind that one.
What was the inspiration?
No, I'm saying we can feel the
Oh, thank you so much.
the inspiration behind that particular poem.
Thank you.
But yeah, but you can tell us what the
Yes, so it was many years ago. I remember it was actually I feel like it's all connected to my faith and church, but I remember they had this celebration at this church I was attending, and it was to celebrate Africa, actually. And so I thought, actually, I should write a poem about celebrating the continent. And so yeah, I just started writing about all these things that I used to take for granted and things that I love about Africa. And yeah, some of the richness that we have on the continent that I feel like, okay, now I think people are starting to see and really appreciate about the continent, but maybe back in the day they didn't. And so I felt like really it's a love letter to the continent. It's a love letter to where I grew up and what I love and I enjoy. So yeah, that's essentially what it's all about.
Excellent, excellent. So Tanya, just before we go, if people want to get in contact with you, see your work, how would they get hold of you? Can you give us your social details?
Yes. So on Instagram, you can go to Tanya C Spoken Words. So that's TANYA C Spoken Words. And you'll find me there. On YouTube, you can also type in Tanya, Tanya C Poetry. So you should see some of my videos. And I think on Facebook would be the same, Tanya C Poetry.
Excellent. Great.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
you're
And
welcome. Thank you for having me.
we will
It's a
certainly
joy.
look out for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.